that in there? Money. What? Hey Mick, have a look at this. Fucking money boxes, car. That came out the back. Looks like a 10 cent or 5 cent coin in there. How bodgy. Shit. This car's the money box. Bit of drinking silver.
Welcome aboard everyone, welcome back to another episode. So here I am, left-hand front guard. This is one that Matt sourced for us, came from down, I think around Sydney somewhere. Obviously after 50 years, it's been around the country a bit. A lot of little silly dents and imperfections in it. So my job is at the moment to get it all up nice and square and true and straight. So I've got all this area cleaned up, and now what I want to do is come right through the guard. So I'm using my panel file just to run across it, to see what I've got as in ups and downs in the panel. And you can see there's quite a few highs and lows in that. So I'll just use this panel file to give me an indication as to where I'm at with it. My favourite tool, the old panel file, it finds all the sins really quickly, and I always finish with these to make sure that steel's right. And sometimes I begin with them, which is a good guide for me. So, but as you can see, it's finding all those highs and lows. Now this panel is not too bad. It's obviously, as I say, over those years it's got some little bits and pieces through it. So now that's showing me what's happening with this. Not too bad through here, just tiny little bits, almost like hail dents. Back through here, a little bit more sort of happening right through here. So what I like to do now, and you've got to remember with steel, do not over flog it. It's got a grain to it and it will distort or you will shrink it. And if you go too hard, you will expand that steel. So a little trick to what I like to do is get a nice little half moon dolly or bigger, flipper or slapper as we call them, and you then go in on this particular panel. I won't go over the top, I won't go too silly, but what this will do now, I'll get in under that top skin and give it a tap. And as you can see there already, that's starting to bring that right up nice and tight. And that's probably not going to take much more than that panel at all, because some steels are softer than others. These old girls are very soft in the steel, you've got to be very careful. Some of the new cars more high tensile. But that's all that's going to need, is just to bring that up, bring those little lows up and take those highs down. And then when I've done that, when I'm through with that procedure, I'll do that right along that panel and then back with the panel file again, over the top. And as you can see there now already, just with that little bit, that big low's just about disappeared out of that. So I'll go a little bit more around that area, I'll come through, tap, tap, tap up with my slapper. Right, so Mick's in the back of the boot area now, in the beaver area that he's replacing. Just knocking the edges down, prettying it all up with that rotor, and that's coming up very nicely at the moment. I think just where you can see there on the edge of that primer, he's feathered it right back, and that's what he wants. And also where he's plugged those welds in, tidying those up, just dressing them up. Little jobs like this is what you have to do along the way, just to stop, pretty things up to make the next stage come up really nice and just how you would like it. So that's coming up fairly good, I think, Mick, by the look of that.
Yeah, getting there, Pops. All this in here I've got to do by hand because we're not going to blast this.
All right, so that top of that guard's come up beautiful. I'm really happy with it. It's straight as a die now, that thing. So all it needs now is a final coat of prime. That'll be ready for paint after that. And the reason why we go this way in these panel repairs is the simple reason is the owners of these cars are really, really fussy. They bring the cars to us because they do not want their classics loaded full of body filler. And that's the whole reason why they come here, because they want primo finishes, and that's what we deliver at the end of all this. But as I've shown you these little bits and tips as we've gone along, if you want to go down that route, learn how to do it, because it's the ultimate and the correct way to do your finishes. But that's why these cars come here, because the owners appreciate the quality of work, and that's what they want.
Okay, welcome aboard. I'll just wait till this turns off. The old Merkers are brewing, how they automatically turn on and off with the vacuum system. Anyway, so welcome aboard. Now what I'm doing is here, I'm just knocking back that primer with the 180 on the rotor. And obviously with 180, it's not like 80, you can feel that steel, and I can feel every low and high. So that 180 just makes it a lot more smoother, and I know what I've got here before I weld it up. And that's the reason why I'm removing that. And I'm making sure all my edges are really clean. So when I weld it, it's just gonna weld really, really nicely. And that first hit with the MIG, it's just gonna weld and melt in perfectly. So you can see the inner's all done there, and that's had your epoxy primers, and then also I've gone over that with the carboline, and then you can see there it's got a water-based stone guard over the top of that, which is brilliant. We love that stuff. And the reason why we've done that, obviously it's for the protection, and hopefully it lasts for many years. I'm thinking if it's looked after, it should last a lifetime if the car's, you know, kept in a garage. So that's done. That's better than factory finish as well. So the next step is now I've got the outer, and it's all the same now. So I've also done the epoxy inside, and then I've done the carboline, and then I've gone over the top with the stone guard as well. And I'm going to clean that off there. Take the tape off where I've masked it off, and I've just gave them another sandblast. So now I'm going to sit them on, tack them in position, and yeah, get these welded in. So I've just started with those first few tacks. I'll start at the very back here because I want this corner to be perfect, and then I can follow that to the very front. And basically now I like this part. It's a little bit exciting because we're making some progress here, and I need to be really careful. Even with those tacks, it hasn't pulled anywhere around here, and I'll show that with the file later. And that's the last thing I want. If that pulls in a little bit here and there, I'll have to panel beat all that out. So I want to avoid all that work, and by avoiding it, it's all in the heat, and it's just welding it in the right place as well. Alrighty, that one's tacked on. I'm not real happy with that bottom one. I might have to take that one off and just tap the steel together. I'm not 100% happy with that. So I'll leave that now, and I'll move forward and gradually move my way to the front and tack as I go. Like I was saying in that last episode, this can turn to custard really quickly, and I don't want that, that's for sure. Alright, I'll give it one next to this. I'm going to try to space them out, probably 15 mil each tack as I go, little bit by little bit, because I don't want distortion. Now I'm not really happy with that tack. I'm going to turn my heat up a little bit more. And my wire speed as well, just play with it. It's not 100% right where I want it to be. Alright, that's better. That's much better tack, that one. Good penetration. And when I say attack, I'm actually also getting penetration, so it is like a weld as well, basically. I don't want to go over it again and make double the work for myself, so if the tack's not penetrated, it's actually very annoying because you have to grind it back off, and I don't want to have to do that later. That one was a little bit sketchy, a little bit too much heat. Righty, so far so good.
Okay, we'll have a little sticky beak here, what Michael's up to with this quarter panel. And he's starting to tack it all in the bottom. And across the centre there, you'll see where he's come from the back, heading towards the front. Carefully, carefully. How is it, Michael?
Yeah, it's alright. I'm a little bit sketchy at the moment, actually. Yeah, I'm losing a little bit here, and it's pulling it in. So I just got to be careful. I'm going to give it a tack down here now, so I don't lose any more. If it takes half a mil, that's all I need. So
yep.
This will still dolly in a little bit. I don't want it to pull any more though. So no. This will be interesting after I do this one.
You're right in the danger zone at the moment.
I'm right in the deep end, man.
But there's always a tinner bog later if it doesn't work out.
Oh yeah, right, Pops.
We can just follow everyone else's lead out there and just slap a tin of poo in it.
I wish. I'd have this done in a day.
You would?
Alrighty.
Fingers and everything else crossed. Here we go. See how this performs, or not. That's all it should take to hold it.
That was a bit of a bird shit, that one, but I'm not worried about that. I just want to tack that. I don't want too much penetration on that one.
No biggie, it's holding it, that's all you need for the minute. Patience is a virtue on this job.
It sure is, hey. So we'll come back here. Just see, if you see up there, Pops, with that camera, can you see where I'm talking is like a half a mil through here?
Yep, right there.
That will pull together in a minute, like it's starting to through here. But if it doesn't, what happens is when I weld it, it creates a high, and then it'll tend to want to either pull out or pull in.
Yep.
And then you'll start getting the old ripple effect. And I don't want to run a 1 mil through there because I don't also want to open it up too big. It's one of those ones. You just got to go along and
hope for the best at this point. Mate, you're starting to scare me.
it is a sketchy job, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, L plates and all must be still on. I tell you what, mate, I don't know.
It's one of those sketchy ones, mate. Right, I'm going to tack it here. Let's see how this goes.
Sounds like it zapped it pretty good.
Yeah, you have a little bit more on that one. I didn't want the penetration there.
What's it doing? In, out, sitting where you want it to?
Yeah, it's perfect so far.
Nice.
So far, but I've got a long way to go.
Yeah, but like I said, don't be scared, mate. We can go and get a big tin of poo and wipe in there if you like.
Oh, Pops, you're dreaming now again.
Take a skim off it, do you reckon?
I might have to take a little bit of a skim off the top of that.
Yep.
Tiny little bit though, that's all it needs. But the whole shape, there's no distortion in that at all.
It's come up beautiful, the rest of it.
If I just take a little bit off there, be very careful here.
Just a hair's breadth, that's all you want off that.
Trying to get it in the right place.
You got to remember too, Michael's only playing with panel steel here, and you've got to be super careful. You don't get too excited with that hammer because everything you've worked for all of a sudden will be out the window really quickly. But that now looks like it's starting to sit in there pretty good. You can work it a bit there, Michael, can you or not?
Nearly. There we go. Alrighty.
It's the one thing with these jobs, patience, like I say, is a virtue.
Okay, that's perfect. So it's pushed in,
Nice.
and you can see with the ruler. See there? It's pushed in perfectly all the way along. Just there, wants pushing in a little bit more, and there it's higher. So that's exactly where it needs to be through there. Alright.
So if you want an all steel finish, this is what you've got to go through to achieve that. And there's no quick or easy fix for any of this work. And don't be fooled by anyone that tells you there is, because there just isn't. It takes time to do this sort of work, or you will end up with a whole bunch of body filler over the whole job.
Alright, that is perfect. So I'll tack that.
Nice.
Happy with that just there, so. Oh, I might have went a little bit too far actually. No, it's good.
Yeah, looks spot on from here. Mate, a blind man on a galloping horse would be happy to see that.
So yeah, I'll tack it and see what it's like. This could go turn to custard, Pops. Nah. Alright, so I'll tack this one.
All good?
Oh, beautiful and nice, Pops. Beautiful and nice.
Yep, looks pretty good from here.
There we go. I'll give this a little bit more of some work through here before I weld this and tack. Oh, sorry, before I tack this one here.
Massage it into its spot a bit more.
A little bit more.
But you get the general direction that he's heading in, and he'll just continue right along to the front edge of that quarter, get all that tacked in place. Then he'll probably go around the bottom edge, couple of spots in underneath.
Yep.
And then come back, and bit by bit he'll get it all in. But we'll come back to that when he gets a bit more progressive, and you'll see how he's gone or not gone.
Yeah, there's too much stretch in that. I'll take a little bit of meat off there.
So what I'm doing here, I'm just finishing this up now before I put another coat of epoxy on this. I got to a point, I've gone through my different phases and stages along the way, tapped it up, got the panel nice and square and straight, filed it back, and now I've come down to the little block. And why I use that, I like to just be able to finish it off a little bit smoother than it was, so I can just feel every little thing as you rub your hand across that. And that is really, really spot on there at the moment. It's come up, I'm wrapped with that, it's come up a treat, beautiful. So now, as I say, I've got that where I want it, no body filler whatsoever required in that, anywhere in that panel. I mean, I could have easily just went, like a lot of people do, and whacked some body filler in that and filled it up, but if you go about the right way, you do not need body filler. It's a complete waste of time. I don't want sink back later, I don't want an ugly paint job. I want the thing spot on, but I'm there now. I've got virtually nothing on that as far as a build with that epoxy. So I'm really happy, and my philosophy on this stuff is less is more. That's the way to go always. So now I'll go to finish this, I'll go one more coat of epoxy over that, 2 light coats of poly. That's just for the ease of the rub, the poly. Once that's done, it's all keyed in, locked in, done. No body filler and ready to go, and that'll go for many, many years, but she's good to go after that. Right, Michael's got to the point now with this repair on the quarter. He's got the welded fairly well across that join there. But now he's got to a stage where you've got to be very, very careful with the welding here, because you generate too much heat, this can go really south real quick, because it's pulled up a little bit now, it's tightened that panel up a little bit, and what it'll tend to do, too much heat, then it'll tend to suck it in the wrong direction, and all of a sudden you'll have stress on that panel that's going to take a bit to get rid of. So when he's welding, you'll notice only real short little bursts of weld. It's crucial. You really don't want to disturb that panel too much, because as I say, it's got to a point now, because it's a really long weld across that panel, you generate the wrong heat in the wrong spot, it'll pull it in the wrong direction, and all of a sudden that panel will be a real mess. So he's just got to be real mindful of everything he does now. It's right at the very crucial part of the weld. So little by little, and I mean little by little, with virtually nil heat, just enough to molten that wire into that panel, and that's all he needs. That will come up fairly nice. So he may, at the end of the weld, go and have to address his little issues. You might have to give it a bump up or down so he can get ready to file that up in the end. But it's very important at the moment to go the way he's going, the route that he's going. Tiny little bit of wet on a rag every now and then, just to reduce that heat. Not too much, but knowing when and where to do it, and knowing where to weld the panel. You just don't weld from one end to the other. You've got to come in on different angles at some stages, as I say, because this is a very long continuous weld. So just bit by bit, and he's getting there, as you can see there. It's a long weld, but he's dressed those ones that he's put across there up already, just to see where he's at, so he can run his hand across it and feel that panel and watch it, keep a good close eye on it. But at the moment it's looking good, but you don't become complacent, because the moment you let your guard down, you will have an issue. And the other side of all that is, if you're not really fully experienced, this is when it can get yourself in a real corner that you can't get out of.
Another thing too, Pops, I found with this metal, it is soft. It is so soft. When I had the grinder on it before, it just heated up and expanded as quick as that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, you got to be very gentle with the metal, that's all.
Yeah, you got to almost massage it if you like. It's the old school, what they used to call cold rolled, not like this high tensile new stuff where it's very, very, well, high tensile. And this other stuff, it's older school. It's good steel to work with, but as Mick said, it's very soft material, and you've got to treat it with kid gloves, because if you don't, all of a sudden you'll have a massive stretch in that's going to take a lot to get rid of. And that's why you'll see guys, when they do repairs, they'll do all this, but then unfortunately they trap themselves. They get to a position where they've gone a bit too far, don't really understand what they're doing, and then you've got to fill it full of bog just to try and finish it. But because we're going with the steel finish, this is the tradesman coming out, if you like, now, knowing which way and how to go with this.
And also with the water, this can create a lot of damage as well. So I know exactly how much I need to cool it, but I've got a little bit of a high in certain places, and I do need to keep it a little bit cooler in certain places to pull my steel back to where it needs to be. And it's going to shrink that steel back in, and with that cold water, it instantly just shrinks it back and pulls that couple of, well, what could you say, Pops?
A couple of micron, bugger all.
Literally microns, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. So yeah, it's the same old story. How you stuff, like you said, Pops, if I stuff this up,
You're in a bit of poo.
I'm in a whole lot more work later on.
And the thing is too with it, it's not, honestly, this is not for everyone, this work. It's a skill, and I've seen guys do, fourth year apprentices. They'll walk away from it because it's just not them, it's too hard to deal with. And it is an art to be able to do this stuff really, I'm talking professionally and properly. And that's the difference, that's why we say, look, if you're not real sure how to do this kind of stuff, probably don't attempt it, get a professional to do it, because you might destroy an irreplaceable panel, or it'll end up a bit messy. But if you're not sure, probably don't attack it. But you got to remember too, guys, like you're talking here years and years of experience to learn this stuff correctly. And it's not a thing that it's for everyone. You've got to be very, very patient with it. It's just one of those jobs. But if it's done right with the skill and the patience, it'll end up a really top product. But that's just the way it goes. Sometimes, you know, like I say, not for everyone, but we've done it for so long, it's kind of second nature to us. But anyway, we'll see what Michael comes up with on the next phase. But he's at, as I say, it'll be just different to see what he does now. He's got to a point there, it's borderline as to whether it can go good, bad or indifferent here. But we'll come back to him later.
There's nothing quite like when you're welding, there's nothing like the good old little bits of weld that come off and go on the top of your head and sizzle. Hey pops.
Oh, lovely.
You gotta love those ones, eh? And they just sit in top of your helmet and they sizzle away on your skin.
The best of the lot when it goes down your boot and you're in a position where you can't move, that's brilliant.
I never forget years ago, I think I must have been like, 7 or 8 years old. And Dad's like, I'll go to the workshop, give him a hand holding something. I can't remember what car he was doing at the time. And he was welding and I was just wearing a pair, back in the day, those silk boxes. They used to have them in my board shorts because I was just hanging around at the time, school holidays, just riding push bikes, stuff like that at the workshop. And anyway, I went in, held it for him and it was welding. One of the molting little bits of steel went through my boardies, in through the silk, straight through into the pants, sat on the old sack and just burn away for about 10 seconds and holy shit, that was my first welding experience. So.
And this one here, this was a doozy, this one, I'll just show you this. I don't know whether you can see it on camera.
Yeah, Wade, come over again. Come over here and I'll give you the mic, I'll put it up.
Yeah, I don't know whether you guys can see this on camera. You see that white spot there, right there? That burnt a massive hole in my arm. I couldn't move. I was trapped. I was welding actually a tray on a Land Cruiser. And I just had to lay there until it stopped burning. That's what you call punishment.
What, were you under the cruiser?
Yeah, I was in a position where I just couldn't move. I was trying to hold something.
Yeah.
And it just burnt, and I just went, oh, well, it's got to stop eventually, but man, that hurt.
Yeah. You gotta love it. It's all part of the process, isn't it, Pops?
Fun.
It is fun. But yeah, then like sometimes that's why we do, like, we won't work without our proper work shorts and stuff now, because I've learnt if you don't have these they still burn through. But the old Bisley's pretty good work gear, but sometimes they will burn through. But yeah, these are good. It sort of bounces off, gives you a chance to not get the ultimate burns. So I'm just killing a little bit of time there, just talking a bit of shit and just letting this cool down and letting it go back to its shape. I just need to know exactly what I've got here, and it's starting to feel really good actually. So the little bits where you were seeing where I was cooling it with the wet rag, they were high spots, and I did want to just shrink that steel down a little tiny bit, and I'm talking a tiny little bit.
bloody hell's Ted done it? I've got that mop and bucket ready for him. This floor's a pigsty. Where the hell did he end up?
I don't know, Pops. He was here and then he just said before he wanted more drinking silver. It wasn't enough, so he's going back to his deliveries.
Typical. Can't get any bloody help anywhere today, but he's mopping buckets waiting, so when he's back, it's got his name on it. But anyway, what's happening here?
I think he said he'll pop back next week for an hour and do some sweeping.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Good luck. So how'd you go with this?
Yeah, it's getting there now, Pops. I'm just about to weld in the end here. And yeah, the welding should be nearly done. So
it went all right? You had any dramas or not with it?
no, it was pretty good. It's not too bad, but you can feel there where I've got highs and lows now.
You got a tiny little bit just there.
Yep.
That's a bit high, tiny, but bugger all in that. You got a little bit of a low there, which is nothing. You got that's your worst bit just here. There's a bit of a high there.
There is, yeah.
So you'll have to get in behind that, bump it up and down where you want it. You'll cure all that real quick through there. That you should be able to get rid of. If not, we might have to give it a tiny shrink that to pull it up. But she's nice and tight and firm. There's no distortion. It's held all its profile right everywhere around it.
Yep.
And this here, you shouldn't have an issue with that. Just go slow. Okay, that's a wrap for this one, I think. I think it should be a fairly interesting episode. But before I forget and before we go, I'd just like to let you know about SBI. They're one of our suppliers that we use all the time. Products are excellent. One of the good things that we get off them is these spray suits. Brilliant, really good zip in the front of them, down the legs, and elastic around the ends of the arms there. Real good hood. They're real protective when you're in the booth. Very comfortable too, plenty of room to move. But guns, they sell guns, all good quality stuff, whatever you want. Mick will put the link in the description for Adamson Auto Body. Okay, and 10% discount across the board on all their gear. And that's for you guys, and that's a thank you for watching us. So you want to go and buy some good gear, save 10% on everything off SBI, go ahead and do it. We're happy to help, and thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Remember, keep it real and keep it right. We'll catch you next time.